Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
Welcome to the Pool Chasers Podcast. This is episode 2. I am so excited for this episode because Greg and I had the pleasure of interviewing Ed from the Swimming Pool Warehouse. As we discussed in the first episode, this is my first job in the industry and is actually my one and only job. And Ed was my first and only boss in the industry as well. You know, we kind of will dive into how he took over as the owner of Swimming Pool Warehouse and then how I came along to work for him. This was such a fun experience for me as we discussed some of our stories and laughs from when we had our time together working there. And it was just such a blast and honor working for him. So I'm excited for you guys to hear the episode. You know, we'll kind of get into how Greg and I had our first office there. And that's a pretty interesting story because it was this little small room and, you know, we were able to get this little office for our team, and it was a huge step for us at Brothers. You know, it was just a small little office, but the whole entire mentality of it just changed our game, and we really appreciate him for doing that. You know, we'll kind of go and dabble on many other topics here in this episode, such as, you know, our support systems at home, how important that is. You know, shout out to our wives. Thank you so much for all you do and support. And, you know, we'll get into some crazy customer stories, some green pool stories, and we'll get into what Ed's favorite social platform is. This is a pretty cool section of the podcast because Greg kind of shares some of his great insight on social media platforms, and that's kind of his skill set here at Brothers, one of the majority things he does. So it definitely is intriguing, so you have to tune into that as well. You know, we kind of finish up with one of Ed's mentor and, you know, how our dad was one of his mentors when he first started the business. And, you know, our dad is an important mentor to us as well. So, you know, that part is super important to us. You know, mentors are a great thing to have, and they definitely help you when times are tough or when you have big decisions to make. So we'll discuss that. Hopefully you guys will learn some things here just as we did in this podcast. I know myself and Greg learned quite a bit from Ed in the beginning of our relationship, you know, and we kind of go over that in this podcast. So we hope you guys like it. You know, we'll jump right into it after a word from our sponsor.
What's going on, everybody? This episode is brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is by far our favorite tool for collecting deposits, payments, scheduling customer jobs, and assigning tasks to a specific person on our team. If you're looking for a better way to stay organized, this is it. We love how simple it is to take a call, create a customer profile, and schedule a date for a person on our team to do an initial bid on service or repairs. Also, building a quote could not be easier. You can import line items and the cost so that you can build a quote fast in the field. Our team also loves that all photos, videos, and notes are attached to a specific customer. We can simply go to the customer's profile and know right away what is going on. If you are struggling to stay organized, this will help immediately. We start every morning off by going through our assignments and what needs to be done that day. I don't even know how we did things before Jobber. If you have any questions, their customer service team is out of this world. We have never had a bad or long waiting experience with the Jobber team. Jobber is so cool that they are hooking up all of our listeners with a free 14-day trial. Just visit getjobber.com/poolchasers. That's getjobber.com/poolchasers. Try it out. We promise you won't be disappointed.
All right, so last podcast, we kind of introduced you to the Swimming Pool Warehouse where I worked. We have Ed here, who's the owner of Swimming Pool Warehouse, and we just wanted to kind of talk about some of the beginnings and, you know, some of your story and share and teach and learn off that. So hopefully we can, you know, get some good stuff out of here. So how you doing, Ed?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity, guys. It means a lot. So
Yeah.
Good to have you here, buddy.
thank you.
Can you just kind of tell us, I know your story is kind of interesting, you know, how you came about purchasing Swimming Pool Warehouse, and, you know, you had 3 or 4, 5 jobs at the same one time and some crazy stories. So just tell us how, you know, that came about.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. The previous owner came to me. There was an opportunity, a position that opened up, and he heard through the grapevine that I had about 5 gigs going on, which doesn't really make sense on the calendar, but when you do the math and you're from 6 a.m. to, you know,
9 p.m.
9 p.m. It kind of can work, you know.
Yeah.
But so basically, he came to me and said there's an opportunity there, and I said sure, I'll give it a shot, not thinking anything about it. So I started working on the bench where they fixed cleaners.
How did you hear about the job? How did you hear about it?
Or did he
He
reach
hunted
out
me
to you?
down.
Oh, he hunted you down?
He hunted me down.
At church or something?
No, outside of
Outside
church.
of church. Really?
Yeah.
How did he hear about you?
He heard that I was working. I had moved on from from the church to that one to help start up and do some construction stuff, get the church kind of up and running.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, he heard through the grapevine that I had a few other things going and said, what could we do if there's be an opportunity? What do you think? So he didn't tell me what the opportunity was. No, this
he just said opportunity?
May. He just said opportunity. Now, knowing who
it could be
was,
AC, maybe not. I don't know.
I'm not
Let's
sure.
not worry about that
I don't
right now.
actually work out in the warehouse, right? So he basically said, this is what it kind of is, and that kind of thing. So I took the opportunity, sat at the bench, and started working on cleaners in May, which was an absolute worst month ever to work on stuff.
That's right. Seems kind of similar to our story a little bit.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, surprise! You got swamp coolers that never turn on.
Yeah, I never left that. I purposely left that part out because that's what I would.
This guy.
That's the part I left
that out.
There's a fan in there.
Man up.
I did make Megan reminded me that we had that big, huge, humongous metal fan in the back, so that wasn't too bad.
Thank you, Megan.
It kind of blew out the dust. And
Dusty hot air.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother story, bro.
yeah. Oh yeah, we got to tell that one for sure.
No, that's embarrassing for me. No, maybe for you, but it was a priceless moment for me. Anyway, so we started in May, kind of learned a little bit of the trade. I was so green. I had no idea what this industry was all about. I really didn't. It was one of those things where the opportunity was there because I trusted the previous owner.
Yeah.
He was just a man of character. So we basically took it, and then I was able to eliminate a few other jobs.
Yeah.
And then about 2 years into it, the owner came and said, hey, we're looking to make some adjustments in our lifestyle. Would you be interested? And I said, no. Kind of laughed.
Kind of laughed it off.
I said, I've never had a worse weight loss program in my life than being here. It was horrible.
Nice.
So I said no, and he said, okay, we'll think about it, and talk to your wife, and on and on. And she goes, you want to own a what? And I said, no, I don't think so. So it didn't let go. And then I started learning more and understanding what was actually there and what the business had. It had a great reputation. Customers, they weren't marketing themselves. I mean, people were just coming over and over and over. Pool guys were coming in, motors were being done, cleaners, and it's like, wait a minute, there's something pretty special here. It's very unique. And so we took the chance and started moving into an ownership role. And the owner said, hey, yeah, that's great. So for the next year, he opened up all the books, basically showed me from everything, vendor relationships, accounting, all that kind of stuff. So we took it over, and Susie was extremely challenged and yet supportive.
Yeah.
To take it over.
So after that 2 years, did you plan on maybe sticking around the swim pool warehouse? Or were you going to stay in the industry? What if you hadn't gotten offered that position of buying swim pool warehouse? What were you going to do?
I was looking to do something else and possibly a ministry role through the church.
So something completely different.
Something completely different. I really wasn't sure at that time. So we just were patient and just waited. I knew that there were some other things in the industry that were interesting to me. Things like the service side, which wasn't there.
Were you cleaning pools when you were there? No? No repairs, no cleaning pools?
Did you
see
the
any
service
pools?
side was gone.
No. You saw probably more pools when you were with your dad on the construction sites and stuff?
Yep.
That's crazy.
More pools. Yeah, so I didn't...
It's a little more fun.
Jobs. Yeah, it's a little more fun. But no, I saw a few with customers. We went and did some customer service calls to find out what was happening, and went out with a repair guy.
Yeah, because you did have the repair sides right then still.
Yeah, repair was fully intact, and the motors and all that stuff. But I started learning then went from cleaners to motors to all the other things, and then that's where Kenny came into play. He was basically the teacher, kind of the mentor when it came to that particular arena in the industry. So
yeah, Kenny knows his stuff.
Very much so.
Yeah, Kenny, we talked about him on the previous podcast too about, how I kind of picked his brain. He's pretty crazy. He just sits there and, he, like I talked about before, he has like this encyclopedia of books that look ancient old. Every Aqua magazine, he just gets the new one and just flips through it. So he's probably their biggest fan.
Yeah, it is.
But the craziest thing is he just, on his lunch breaks, he'll just grab like a head of lettuce and some ranch and just read some books.
Dude, that is the weirdest thing ever. You survive off a head of lettuce. And he just head of lettuce and water?
Head of lettuce and water. I don't know how he does it, but he does change up the dressing. So,
Ooh,
you know, you got different varieties.
Yeah, that's different.
maybe a couple of extra toppings.
Yeah, I
maybe
remember
some
that.
bacon bits.
Yeah, I was going to say bacon bits, you know, stick to the ranch on
I
top
remember
of the
the
lettuce
fridge
head.
in the warehouse being pretty barren except for toppings.
A lot of toppings.
Yeah, there's like... I remember working there. You open the fridge, and I put my lunchbox in there, and the door is full of toppings. You got all kinds of ranch, ketchups, sauces. You know, you got bacon bits, like, you know, little container bacon bits.
That is so weird. I wonder, does he just have to go get a head of lettuce every other day? Or, because lettuce goes bad
He
quick.
eats the whole thing, man.
He eats the whole head.
The whole head.
Or
He eats-
nothing.
Are you kidding me?
No.
No, he crack open a head. No, he's actually...
Who does that? Oh, man.
Kenny
Maybe
does that.
maybe that's the secret. That's what we're missing.
That could be.
Maybe
Yeah, or he'll
that'll-
just
maybe
grab, like,
that'll
you know,
help with my
those-
memory.
You know those like salad kits? He just sometimes it'll be a salad kit with just the lettuce, and he just like takes it and flips it on the bag. You know, like taco, like just eating out of the bag.
He does.
Pours the ranch in the bag
It's
and
a
eats out of the
built-in
bag.
bowl. That's how you work it. The new and improved Kenny is that he does the spinach now.
Ooh.
So you nuke it, right? And then you fillet it open the bag and you stir it all up. It smells to high heaven, but man, he's, you know,
It smells good or no? It smells
it's
bad.
rough. It's rough.
Worse than the fish and stuff.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
somebody used to
He-
eat fish all the time in there. And that would
Gotta
be
have
rough.
rules about
That was him.
man.
That was him.
That's all him.
Little fish, little chicken, some steak.
Nice.
But you know, when he starts eating the hard green stuff, the deep green stuff, then he looks at your watch and goes, "Give me 30 minutes."
Yeah.
Like, man, you need to switch over to the like PB&J diet or something.
He's got that 30-minute bathroom break too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Kenny's. I mean, picking his brain is pretty awesome. I mean, he's definitely a valuable asset for you guys because anybody that came in that store still comes in the store. I mean, any question they have, I would be very impressed if somebody could stump him.
Yeah, he's very uncanny because he'll sit there and take a question from a customer, and you'll see it brewing in his mind, and he'll go to the manual.
Yep.
If it doesn't go to the manual, doesn't work for him. He has 3 or 4 resources that he'll call. He even has guys on call that he'll call a guy and go, "Hey, we've got this situation," and the guy will ring it off to him, and then he'll find it in the paperwork. He's just very gifted, I think, when it comes to that. And
I've never had anybody as smart as him in the pool industry. Is still to this day. He's pretty awesome, for sure. You know, there was a time when you needed somebody to come work in the motor shop, and I was at that time looking for another job because I had just got passed on the promotion, and I was working on building brothers, and it seemed like kind of a great fit, and we had some conversations between us, and then we decided to have a dinner together with me, you, Susie, and Megan, and then it kind of just started from there.
No, it was great because I thought what was fun about it was when we had that dinner, all 4 of us had the dinner, and Megan looked at me and said, "Why Tyler?" I'm like, "Well, don't you know?" I said, "No, because I need someone with character and integrity on our team. I don't need someone to just come in and do the job. I wanted someone to be an owner, not a renter.
Sure.
Someone that would take ownership." And I think that was really important. Plus, there was history there. So,
Yeah.
We've known each other and known how you work and how you deal with people and all that kind of stuff. And all of that was part of our vision of what we had.
Yeah.
And of course, Susie and Megan are 2 peas in a pod. They're very similar in the
Very
way they
similar.
think and feel and move. And so that endorsement from them was huge for both of us.
For sure.
And it's always nice to have dinner as well.
Yeah.
But we took the step, and I'm so thankful even to this day.
So you were okay with Tyler having his own business, trying to build up brothers. Obviously, it was a lot smaller back then, but you were totally okay with him kind of working and doing the motors, cleaners, and different things like that while building up his business. That was, that was cool with you?
Yeah, it was. And the reason being is because I knew who he was as a person and his character. But the other thing, too, is he was very open. And because of that...
Wasn't trying to hide anything or anything like that?
No, and it was... It may not sound normal, and it probably wasn't. normal to do that.
Right.
But we benefited each other. I needed someone in the motor shop, and he was willing to come work in that sweat box for not a lot of pay and just a few hours to learn something he's never done. So we were very similar in our journey, starting off in the industry. But no, I didn't have that problem because I knew who he was and how he wanted to run it. And he took care of his customers like I wanted to take care of mine. And so I wanted to compliment because his success was also mine. That was probably a little bit of selfishness on my part.
Definitely. And I think it's
awesome as a business owner.
And it's so crazy. I mean, just you working and doing the motors, for that. How long did you do that for?
I think 8 or 9 months.
8 or 9 months. But it's crazy. Even when we go do repair bids and weekly pool service bids, if there's any problems with the motors, it's crazy. Like right away, you're pretty good about figuring out what's going on with it exactly. So I know if you hadn't done that, you probably wouldn't be as good.
No, for sure. Yeah, pumps and motors are easily my best asset. I can do those all day long.
Yeah.
Impeller sounds, diffuser sound, broken diffusers, broken impeller sounds. I know all those, which is definitely from working there for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how none of that stuff is normal. I mean, I don't think most kind of partnerships don't really work out that great all the time.
Right.
And us just, you having the brick and mortar store and you're building up your service and repair side. And then it's like, hey, yeah, you can, work in the shop and do the motors and build up your, service and repair business on the side. And then, it doesn't normally work out that way just because I feel like it's hard for people to trust other people. But it's really cool that you guys kind of went to the same church for a long time and, just built up this really good relationship.
Besides me coming to work there, I mean, that was pretty much kind of in the beginning of where you owned it. What kind of support and resources, were there for you? And I know they walked you through a lot of stuff, you and Susie, and, what kind of stuff was there when you took over?
Yeah, they had a few things in place. I probably didn't ask enough questions. So I didn't know how many resources we had available to us. Doing a little bit more homework, which I probably should have done in the industry, knowing who the right contacts were in the right areas that I needed to touch base with, whether it's equipment or service or repair, automation, all of those things. They were out there. I just didn't know the right avenues to pursue.
Right.
I should have done more diligent work in that regard to do that. They were there. There was stuff at Pillcorp. There were things available through our individual vendors. There was stuff there. I just never tapped into it because of the busyness.
Yep.
Which, looking back, I should not have done.
It's really difficult. It's really difficult because I feel like there's so many things going on within the industry that it's like, man, where do you start? And it's not that it's not like he was probably keeping stuff from you. It's just that, dude, the industry has so many things going on that it's like hard to learn everything, in the matter of a year or two or whatever. It just takes time. You know what I mean? That's why you got people that focus on service and repairs and automation and things like that. They're like, no, this is what I do. I don't veer off. That's why, you got people that just do tile cleans or they just build pools or just do this. It's difficult, kind of having that, cloud of things that you do.
I think a lot of the problem with starting pool companies or even taking over stores, and like we talked about in the podcast while we're doing the podcast, is because nobody wants to tell you, nobody's open to share. Even when you took over the store, like the owner was willing to because he was transferring it to you. But if you ask other pool companies, other pool guys, they're pretty tight knit with a lot of that stuff. So I know one of the guys called them old wolves.
Oh yeah.
In one of the DMs I got recently, he called them the old wolves don't want to share. But that's what it is. They feel like they're gonna give up secrets or something like that. But it's gonna be really nice when we can make a better community that we share what we know and we learn, and then as we interview people like you, they share different things that they have learned over the years, and everybody can utilize a lot of that stuff. And what works for us might not work for you or anybody else, and vice versa. But having the knowledge that somebody else tried this and it failed, or so you don't have to try and fail, is pretty cool. You can learn from other people's mistakes and other people's successes and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was very thankful because Kenny was a phenomenal resource.
Oh yeah.
So he had a lot of things intact like that. Mm-hmm. He knew where to go, who to talk to, and that kind of stuff. So I kind of gleaned a little bit off of him in regards to that. But the other thing to the challenges from the business standpoint, once I've made that mistake, then I knew which avenue to pursue in
For
order
sure.
to get the right answers and that kind of thing. So, but it took time, and it still is, even after 5 years.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I mean, I know Susie had taken over the accounting part of it, which she had never once touched. So I mean, she's a champ. She went in there, and I remember working, and we would try a few different things with the motor tags and trying to figure out a better way to tag those things and how to track what we were doing and how you guys were going to pay us and do all this stuff. And it was fairly new. I know you switched systems from some of the older stuff that was done, and she just always was so encouraging and positive. Hey, just stick with it, and give me a chance to figure it out. If there was ever any questions or issues on things, she would totally own up to it. And she was a champ in there. She works hard.
she does. She's an amazing woman, and I definitely could have never done this or even thought about taking the adventure without her endorsement. And I don't know too many people who go into an industry that they don't know anything about, and yet still, arm in arm, hand in hand. There's been some blood, sweat, and tears. Late nights, early mornings, and she's in there doing the books.
Mm-hmm.
She was learning for almost over a year
Mm-hmm.
because of the industry style. She's a very quick learner, and she picks up things extremely fast. She has a great mind. But when you don't know anything,
Right.
it's a big challenge.
Oh, yeah.
And so I tip my hat to her and thank her so much and often for her patience and stuff like that. So she's
She
she's
seems
a
very
huge
focused.
blessing. She's very good. She really is, and she balances a lot.
It's really good to have that. I don't think people give enough credit to their wives and a good girlfriend and a good family.
Mm-hmm.
It's really crazy that you can be a lot more successful and get a lot more things done if you have a good kind of support system. I know that's how it is with me. I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I can do without Karina. She's amazing and allows me to do so much.
Yep.
Take care of the stuff at the house and the family and all that good stuff. And I come 5 or 6, but it's really nice that I can trust my family and that everything's good, so that I'm allowed to do all this.
Yeah, for them to keep the home life, and we're all in the same position.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
home life so stable that when you go home, it's refreshing after a day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yet they've already been dealing with children and meals and laundry
And homework
and bills and
Yeah.
all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's not only the shopping list, she's the Christmas list, birthday list.
Right.
She does all of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I just clean a pool.
Yeah. It's
know?
crazy. I don't think
I think you do a little bit more than that.
the moms and wives don't get enough credit, because I think that is a huge job and task in itself. You know what I mean? You might, be doing bids and cleaning pools and doing repairs and talking to customers. That's a lot, but taking care of kids and bills and cleaning and all that, that's a huge job too.
It's a full-time job in itself,
for
for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Really important. So
Yeah,
thanks
I
to
mean-
all the moms and wives out there.
Thanks,
Yeah,
babe.
thank you.
The good ones.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, I mean, so back to the store, I think and for the listeners and for other people out there who take over stores or take over pool routes, I think what was really cool about the way your transition happened was he stayed there for almost, I think, a year, right, with you guys in the store, 6 months, something like that, where, he was there most days and, for a few hours at least, where he could come in and he would let you bounce ideas off of him in scenarios and situations. And same with Susie could do that on the back end side too. I think that happened a little bit more, or a little bit longer.
It did.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a pretty cool way to transition something like that, because I think, in our experience that we've seen, if you buy a pool route or you take over a pool route, it's like 30 days and out, or even sometimes less than that, 2 weeks and out. And I think that's a very poor way to do it, because like you said, you don't know the questions to ask. You don't know what to do. You can't learn a customer's way of doing things in 2 weeks,
Right.
or even the store is, I'm sure, much more difficult than that, trying to learn different things.
He periodically will show up and just touch base and say hi and see what's going on, and he always has an open ear for me to bend it and say, hey, what do you think about this and this situation, and what would you do and what you've done in the past? Always has lent great advice and encouragement. He's been a big encourager.
Because he had quite a bit of experience in the industry, right?
Yes, he did. He had his own pool service company, and then moved into the store, and then had that for 26 years.
Yep.
Something like that.
That's a lot of experience.
A lot of time. Yeah, and
Is
his
he-
wife is a gem.
Is he pretty good about coming up with ideas for better processes? I know usually every company kind of has maybe a guy. It's usually the owner, but it's like, hey, I know you're the new owner. Like this was going on before. I think this process might work out a little bit better. Is there maybe a new process that you're like, dude, if I own this, I'm doing this different?
Yeah, that was the fun part about the transition was that as we were moving in, I would go to him and say, hey, listen, there's some ideas that you have here. Would you mind if we tried it this way? Maybe instead of a left turn, we take a quick right. And he goes, go for it. And sometimes
he
it
was
worked.
cool with it.
Sometimes it wouldn't. I'll never forget some of the biggest marketing ideas that I had at the time were the biggest flops.
Yeah.
And he said, if you keep it simple, to where it's tangible and tasteful, to where people can grab onto it, it'll be successful.
Yeah.
So we did the small things. And a good concept was pool guys will bring in their cleaners.
Yep.
So we will work on them, save the guys time in the field, put the cleaner together, charge a small fee, a little bit of advice. And I said, what do you think about that? And he said, great. Well, it's been about 5 years now we've been doing it, and it's a great asset to the guys to come in and get their cleaners fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool service. If you don't mind me asking, can you share one of the flops?
One of the flops was we did a mini in-house marketing for doing kind of a water fundraiser during a time when Phoenix Rescue Mission needed some help. And so we partnered with them, and if a customer brought in a case of water, we'd give them $5 off their purchase.
Okay.
How many cases did you get?
Yeah.
Can we move on to the next question?
So you can all figure it out from here.
It was such a flop. I brought in 5 cases,
No way.
Oh,
Really?
man.
and I had one customer bring in a case and 2 Gatorades, one for me and one for Ken, saying, keep going. They'll keep bringing them in. Just keep going.
Dude, that is
The
super awesome.
single biggest flop ever.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy because you would think more people would care about that, but
Guess
I mean-
not.
we tried some other stuff. We tried March Madness. We literally, I don't know
oh
if you
yeah,
were there.
I do.
Were you
remember- I
there?
think when you made a board.
I made a board
Yep.
with a hoop, and I even taped out the line.
I don't think I was
free
working there,
throw,
but I had been in there when you had it on. Up
everything.
there.
You make you shoot during March Madness, and you shoot. You make it. You get $1 off. You make it from a different point. You get $5 off. At a certain point, if you make it, you get $10 off your purchase of $50 or more.
Oh.
And I had 3 customers that came in, and one guy decided to shoot. So I got my 3-point down, my line down.
Oh, yeah?
I was shooting like crazy because I'm like, I'm putting all this work into it. I'm going to enjoy a little bit of this.
For sure.
So you had only three people the whole month that wanted to shoot.
Yes, sir.
You asked every. So you asked every.
That's messed up, Tyler. Why are you laughing at him?
That's all outside the whole month.
It's so bad.
So curious, you guys being so close to that corner right there. Have you never had like a sign guy pointing towards the store or anything, or you can't do that? in the
No,
airport?
one of the other people do it, so they get all the flipping.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All the flippity.
All the flipping traffic.
All the flipping traffic. It's always backed up right there. I feel like that would be the best place to start sign flipping.
I think the cleaner thing you did yourself, or you came up with that idea. I think that is one of the coolest ideas you've ever come up with. Obviously, you're still doing it, because as a pool service, I mean, when you are out in the field and you in 110 degrees and you got to try to take apart a navigator and figure out what's wrong with it. I mean, even if you take it apart, you don't necessarily have the A-frame with you or other things with you, and then it's more frustrating anyway. You spend an hour taking it apart and you can't even fix it.
Sure.
So you got to take it home or go to the store and buy the parts, and that's over an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes just to fix a cleaner. I think it's super cool. You can just pull it out and bring it to you guys, and you can look at it and fix it for us.
We just wanted to provide a service for the guys to save them time and money.
Yeah.
For $20 for a guy to do it. Makes a big difference for them.
I'd much rather pull out the cleaner and move on than
Yes.
spend an hour and a half doing it.
Exactly.
So I think that's cool. I mean, the biggest one for me is the Polaris cleaners. We still bring those to Kenny. I mean, some of the other stuff we do ourselves, but we still bring the Polaris ones to Kenny because he's just so smart with them.
Yeah, he's good at it.
How are the pool professionals finding you? Are they just finding you online, or have they just kind of been coming for a while, or do you?
They've been coming for a while, and then a lot of word of mouth. When they sit at the distribution centers, they say, "Man, I've got this problem. Where do you go? Hey, check out the guys over there at the store."
Okay.
That's one of the coolest things you have too. Is you're right across from SCP Scottsdale, so that's pretty cool for the pool guys right there. They can bring parts to you and do things like that.
So you think it was kind of more word of mouth, like everyone talking about that you fix cleaners now. So if you have a cleaner issue, go by a swim pool warehouse and they could, fix it. And you had like a day turnaround or something.
Pretty much, yeah, 24 hours, yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's just all been word of mouth in that regards. And then as more pool guys come in, we would let them know. We would offer that service. Say, hey, oh, by the way, if you're doing a swap on a motor, we also do cleaner repair.
It's cool for you to be right across from them too, because you don't have to stock, a complete inventory, which I think is one of the cool things about being there. You can easily get any miscellaneous part in 15 minutes, whereas other pool stores, if you need something that's not a common item, you'd have to order it. They have to order it online or order it from another store. It'd take you a couple days, but most parts you can get in like 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, we had one situation yesterday. I was talking to Greg earlier about it, and this one customer called up and they wanted 5 cleaners. And so we do some retros on cleaners and stuff like that. Well, there were some specific parts we didn't have, but one of our other distribution centers had them. So within the same day, we were able to get them for them.
Nice. All right. So, in being a new owner of the pool store, I mean, what, besides the marketing challenges, what do you think a couple other challenges were, in the beginning that you had to kind of change or, fix to get better?
I think the one thing was kind of a team building, knowing that we were all kind of on the same page, that we kind of sent the same message. One of our slogans that we say is when a customer calls and asks for a part, and I say, well, I'm going to be going out on some appointments, so if you call back, talk to Ken or Don. And they say, well, they know, and our motto is always, we always sing the same song.
Yeah.
So no matter who you get, we have the same mindset. We all know where the parts are, et cetera, et cetera. So that team building thing was very important to try and build that and get that up and running. I think that was probably one of the biggest things. One of the other ones was not knowing where to go to get the right information, the right equipment, and that kind of thing. That was a big challenge for me personally. Kenny knew all that stuff.
Right.
He had all of that. But even, he's human too. So he even had some moments where do I go to get this? That's where I was able to expand the horizon and go to other different suppliers and bring some more opportunities in from them. And we started shopping a little bit and seeing that there were some guys out there that are hungry, and they wanted to partner with us as well. And so
built some new relationships.
Yeah. I forgot about that aspect of it. It was interesting because working with the same product over a long period of time, you don't look at other options. And when you look at other options and you might see there's something better or more unique out there that might be a better fit for a customer. And so we were trying to overcome some of those things as well.
Yeah. I think from our previous conversations that one of the biggest challenges, if I remember correctly, was, you had to take over the store and you didn't have the knowledge that Kenny or, your repair guy at the time and even the motor guys at the time, you didn't have hardly any of the knowledge they had. So I'm sure that was a big challenge trying to be the owner and then, kind of boss these guys around a little bit.
Yeah, it was tough because they didn't know me very well, but they trusted that I was the kind of guy that was doing things that they wouldn't normally do. And so when you do that, you kind of try and hope that there's some trust factor in there, and they did. Kenny was number one because I'd already been working with him on the bench.
Yeah,
you kind of swap stories and war stories and stuff like that, but. Yeah, when you're the new kid on the block and you go into a supplier or something like that, they go, fresh meat.
Yep.
They say you really don't know the parts and you hope you have the right part number and all of those things. So you try and get in there and you try and tell them, you try and win them over with charisma and and that kind of stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, it can be challenging at the very beginning.
I think, it's stands to your character and the way you treated them. And I think for any business owner, listening to this, if you treat the guys correctly and you treat them with respect, even if you don't have as much knowledge. And I think, you know, when you hire people like we had hired our guy who had 17 years experience, and we have, you know, 5 or 6 years combined, sometimes there's times where he knows more than we do. And I think similar to where you had the store, that happened quite a bit in the beginning, I'm sure. And then, you know, still happens to this day, still happens to us this day. It's kind of, you know, as long as you show them respect and they feel like you're taking care of them and they feel like you're respecting their knowledge, you know, you're not just talking over them and giving your own opinion, you know, but listening to what they have to say and saying, okay, well, I think that's a good idea, but, you know, maybe we can do it this way. Or, you know, they just have the answer and you just kind of say, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Let's try that way. Things like that, you know, really help in those situations.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think kind of building these relationships with your guys and everything like that is so important, because I think if you didn't have a relationship with them, they might not understand what you do exactly. So, you know, I don't know everything about repairs and other things like that, but it's super important that I have a relationship with all the guys where it's like I do marketing, I do photos, I do video, I do initial pool service bids. So I actually talk with the customer about what they're going to get on a weekly basis and pricing and, you know, putting things so that we can, you know, outing it to the route so it gets put in your route. There's a lot of other like back end stuff. Same with Tyler, you know, he does a lot of the billing stuff and, you know, repair bids and, you know, answering phone calls when they come in. So I think it's really important to have that there, and they understand that, you know, it's like, oh, I'm out here doing everything. I know everything. It's like, yeah, but you don't know what I do. You know, I would never throw that in your face, but, you know, it's super important to have that relationship where it's like, hey, I know what you do and I know what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody has their job here. But at the end of the day, we're all here to, you know, take care of the company and do whatever it takes to get the job done. So I just think it's real important to be transparent, not only with the customers, but with your guys. And, you know, all you can do is your best.
Yeah, I think the coolest part, you were in the trenches with them, you know, for a long time in the beginning. I know you're in the office a little bit more here and there now, but, you know, especially those first couple of years while you were building the store and the way you wanted it, you know, you were out there with us all the time, you know, rarely in the office. If so, it was like 2 hours at the end of the day or something, or after closed doors like we all do.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought that's pretty cool. You know, you're never afraid to go out there and help them, just like we aren't, you know, with our guys. You got to be able to go in those trenches with them or they're not going to respect you.
Yeah, I think it's key, because if you know, if you're willing to do what others won't, then you can have what others can't. And I think that's message was sent not from a voice standpoint, but more a physical action.
Yeah.
And it was nice to know that when the guys were there, they really chimed in. And I think it's extremely cool when a employee comes to you and says, could we try this? And you say, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're successful at it, oh man, they're going to the moon for you.
Right.
And then you want to encourage them even more.
Yeah.
Right, to do that. And then you partner with them, and then you take out the trash together, and then you cut yourself on a cleaner together. And
right.
Those moments are huge. And very thankful we've had those. And it's extremely important. You know?
Yeah. You got to be willing to do, you know, we have this thing with our guys, and we always tell them, you know, we're not going to take on pools that we wouldn't want to service. We're not going to take on pools without cleaners in them, because we don't want to service pool without a cleaner. We're not going to take on crazy pools with millions of trees over it. You know, those things. Granted, we're at the luxury of doing that now. You know, when you first build, you pretty much take most pools. But, you know, when we got to a certain point, we were able to cut back, you know, a lot of those pools and just kind of focus on giving them, you know, the cream of the crop, if you will, you know, of the pools. So, I mean, there's always, you know, if we have monsoons or storms, every pool kind of gets messed up. But, you know, that's the same mentality we have with that is, you know, hey, we're not going to do things, we're not going to give you things that we wouldn't do ourselves. And even if they're pairs and different things, we try our best not to put our guys in scenarios where they're going to fail. Or, you know, like we talk about not putting him in a scenario where the customer looks at him like he's stupid because he doesn't have the right information because we didn't give it to him. You know what I mean? Things like that. We try to avoid that. We try not to put people in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to have, you know, been in the field and do the work yourself. I mean, if we just came right in and never cleaned a pool in our life, we would have no idea what our guys go through on a daily basis.
For sure.
But, you know, when they bring some of these issues up that they're spending an hour at a pool because this, you know, tree shedding into the pool and the in-floor system's not working or a cleaner's not working and a customer's not responding, like we take that stuff super serious. We email, we call, we text, we do whatever it takes to, get a situation rectified or get repairs made. Because we remember being out there where, customers didn't want to take care of certain things that would break down, and we definitely know how important that is.
Yeah, we definitely take it seriously. We want them to be brothers customers, as we say it, and we want us to be the best fit for them and them to be the best fit for us, as I'm sure you do, Ed. So that's super important. Why don't we kind of backtrack and just talk about how we moved into the store? So at this time, it was close to when you came on full time, Greg, and then we were working from my house, and that was a little tough because you lived not that close to me at the time. So trying to figure out a way to run Brothers through, just my house was tough. So we had talked about trying to find a place. We actually put in a lease for another place, and the dude took way too long to answer us. And then I thought about, hey, Ed's got this room at the swimming pool warehouse. Like maybe we can just rent it from him, and it just sits there with stuff in it anyways. So maybe it could benefit us both a little bit. Give you guys a little bit more rent income, and give us a spot. So, we went in there, little box. I remember, just you had a desk in there already, and then we kept that desk and put one more desk, and it was like that was it, just empty white walls. Oh, we remember we bought like those Mr. Clean pads, and we cleaned all the walls, like washed all the walls down.
It took forever to clean the walls and mop the floors and stuff like that. But I mean, it was like a storage kind of office or whatever whatever have it. But
they had like spas and stuff in there at one point and stuff, but it was storage for a long time. So there's a lot of spots we had to clean up. But it was cool. Ed, let us go in there and rent that space from you guys, and it helped us both. I thought it was a cool kind of transition.
Yeah, it was a nice starter for you. At least it was kind of fun because it was nice to have someone in there as well that you could let your hair down with and share some stories and do that kind of things. That part was fun. Saturday mornings were fun because you'd be rolling in doing billing early in the morning, and I'd be eating my breakfast and chatting, and then Greg, I remember a couple of times you come in and you're building cabinet, or you were building storage units.
Racks or something.
Yeah, for the guys, and they say, "Hey, check it out, man! It's a coffee bar."
Yep,
coffee bar is good for the guys, ready to go.
So we're making big moves over here.
That's right.
I'm gonna go get some creamer after this.
I had the fridge and moved in a fridge, made it the whole cafe there and a break room.
Oh yeah, that was
inside the lobby.
That was a huge step for us at Brothers. I mean, it was just me and you, and then Jeremiah, was our other technician, that helped us out in the beginning. But I remember that was just so huge, and I remember we didn't really have much, and we couldn't really afford to, furnish the office or do really anything cool in there. But we had a place, and I still worked at Harley at the time. So I just remember how cool it was having this. We had a legit office. Like, it just felt like we had a legit business. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, we're making big moves. I got an office, got a couple of desks here. So I remember that was just so cool, and we were always very appreciative that you let us into your office and let us rent that space from you. So thank you again.
No, you're more than welcome. I'm glad it worked out well. It did, and it helped out in a big way. And first, for just a small season, you guys blew it up after that, and it just went crazy.
It was almost a year that we stayed there, so not too, quite a long time.
It felt like 5, but yeah, it was.
I'm sure it did to Susie sometimes.
And I remember
getting little notes on the door. Can you please flush the toilet?
Yeah. Stop acting like dudes.
There's women that use this bathroom too.
I know.
Actually, that was probably not us though. It was probably the other guys.
Probably the other
technicians.
The other brother. But I remember how cool it was because, I mean, at that time, we didn't have an account at SEP. So it was either go to PWP, like way off 101 in Cave Creek, or, when we had Green Cleans or something, we got liquid chlorine from you. I talked to Kenny even quite a bit because I had some questions about things. So that was cool for me. I know Tyler had worked there and got to talk with him and you and stuff like that. But it was really nice to be able to pick your guys' brain, when I started, working there full time and just when I would come in periodically. So it was really convenient for us to need something, and we're already at a shop that had a lot of stuff. So it was nice to get, CYA or hoses, liquid chlorine, acid, a bunch of stuff that you guys had. So that was it was a really cool deal for us.
I thought it was cool because it indirectly sent a great message to your team as well, saying we have a place.
Yeah.
And don't worry about going into my backyard and getting a bucket of tabs. You can pick it up at the office,
Right.
Yeah.
see at the office, meetings at the office, and that kind of stuff. So it sent a big message to the team as well. And the team was great. There's no threat of anything being borrowed or, gone, missing or anything like that. That part was really cool. But it was really neat because they'd come in and out and they felt like they were part of something big as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So as far as the store goes, in your opinion, what do you think was most critical thing that you did, to help avoid wasting time?
I think we still have it today, but we kind of have a 3-phase deal. We plan, process, and produce. So when something comes in, whether it's with a customer's questions or a service call or something like that, we plan it out and then we work it through the process and then we're able to produce it effectively. There's nothing worse than not having all the parts. And the poor guy goes out there to do the repair, right? You're sending him out there. It's 45 minutes one way, and he doesn't have everything he needs.
And it's 110 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. And you need
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It is. And then there's not enough story. You can't make up enough stories well enough to a customer to go, I'm coming back. Why?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't bring everything I needed, that kind of stuff. But
We've been there. That is the worst, the worst feeling. I can't stand it. I feel like when something happens, I'm like, I'm going to Home Depot or I'm going to SCP and I'm buying every freaking tool to put in my truck because this is never happening again.
Yeah, that was rough. We did 2 filter cleans the other day, Greg and I, and I had my tools back, but we've given away a lot of our tools to Kyle and some other Jimmy,
like
some other
3
guys that do filter cleans. So we're trying to kind of give it to them so they have all the tools they need, and we just happen to have to do these. And the guy said, of course, there was 2 filters, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, can you just clean my filter when you're there?" I'm like, no, it was 2, and then I'm like, oh, I don't have this, and I didn't have the right socket, and he's like, "Oh, I think I got some sockets," and I'm like looking at Greg like, "Oh my word!" Like
he brings out brand new tools,
brand new. He's never used them before, and I'm like, man, this is so embarrassing. And then I didn't have the rubber mallet to hit the bang clamp, and I'm like trying to hit it with my hand and some rubber part of these channies I had and stuff, and I'm like, man, he's standing there watching us, and never again, man, I'm never doing that again.
Amateur hours.
Nothing worse.
So bad. And it's like, no, I promise you, we've done this before. I'm
You
sorry.
the same brothers I found on Yelp?
Oh, dude, it
looks the part.
It was so bad. But yeah, I think planning is one of the best assets to save time.
I mean, it's not perfect, but if you can try and plan the best you can and then run it through the process. And the reason I say process is the process is to go back and plan again, right?
Right.
So kind of cover all your tracks, dot your I's, cross your T's, all that kind of good stuff. I think it's still a challenge, but we've kind of implemented that to where we eliminate time and money.
Yeah, I know. I think with you taking over the store quickly, and then same thing, we kind of built our business very quickly. So I think for a lot of the business owners out there, going through this right now, the more procedures and more things you can have in place, the better, because we're still catching up on a lot of those things, trying to figure out, okay, well, this is how this person does this job, this is what this person's supposed to do. Before, we were just kind of hiring them and saying, do this job, and there was no standard operating procedure or something that would show them, you go out and you do these 10 things and you do this when this happens and this when this happens, kind of just they would call us and be like, oh yeah, we'll do this and do that, and it was really annoying. And now it's the more systems and the more order you can have, the better it is. And I think for you too, at the store, taking over so quickly, like you said, you had to figure out who to ask and what to do. And if you and if you transferred it to somebody else, I'm sure you could explain it much better. Oh, this is how we do these systems, this is how we plan these things. It's just better to do in the beginning if you have the time.
It's always good to continuously improve, right? And so we're trying our best. We're not perfect, but we're giving it a good run, and so it takes some time.
Yeah, it's like an art form to kind of prioritize what needs to be done, because something happens, and it's crazy how a new issue comes in, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to take care of this, and then you forget about that, and that was a process that you needed to fix. But just got to look kind of a bird's eye view of everything and fix what you can when you can.
So being a leader and the owner, what do you think the biggest characteristic is that you believe every leader should possess?
I think the hard part is to try and get your employees to get motivated with the mission at hand. The idea of letting them know that there's something bigger out there than they are, and to constantly have that in the forecast saying, hey, listen, there's the end result is, better pay, the happier customers, better reviews, and those types of things. But the consistency of the mission, I think, is probably the one thing. I've learned how to listen better.
Yep.
So to kind of make sure that I'm taking a step back and asking the right question, not the yes and no quick ones, but the other things that are, hey, what do we do in this situation with this customer? So when they do come to me and they do have a question about a customer, how to deal with them, I'm listening really intently.
Mm-hmm.
Listening tells me where that employee is and where they potentially will be down the road.
Sure.
And I think that's huge. So I'm trying that constantly. That's a process as well. But to motivate with a mission at hand, I think, is something that I'm trying to always make sure that there's, if the carrot is nice and orange and sweet and it's entertaining and it's something that they constantly want to go for, that there's always going to be a desire to improve.
Yeah. I think you providing that atmosphere and environment and, those things are definitely underrated, trying to just try to motivate people to make them understand, like, hey, this is a cool place to work. You come here every day, you like what you do. We provide a nice place that you come in and you can just be yourself, be who you are, and, work and get your stuff done and be happy about it. You get to take your lunches, you get to do this and that. And, we get to have this camaraderie and this, fellowship together. And, as long as people enjoy where they work, I think that's definitely underrated that I always enjoyed working there for you. And it was a cool, fun experience. We had a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. And I think that's, people that aren't owners, I think, underrate that a lot. You need to kind of look at the scenarios as, it's not all about the money. We try to give our guys the best we can, as I'm sure you do, but they don't understand the back end stuff, and sometimes they won't and never will. But, the most you can give, we try to, and then, provide an atmosphere just like you do of enjoyment. So they come to work every day, enjoy what they do every day, enjoy seeing their team, and they're happy, and we're all happy. That's what we're trying to get to and provide. And I think that's what was there when I worked there at your store for sure. And I think you still continue to do that. And I think it's really cool because Kenny's been there over 10 years, and I don't see that guy going anywhere else.
I hope not.
All right.
But, no, I've learned a lot from you guys too, because you do the retreats with the guys. You do trainings with them. I think I heard on another podcast, donuts and bagels now and then, on your Monday morning
Every
meetings.
Monday.
So you have that. You fatten them up, right? So you kind of, that's encouraging. Guys coming to work on Monday had a really bad weekend. And he's coming to work excited.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very refreshing to hear.
Oh, yeah. And the way I think we both feel about it is those are our friends, like family,
Yeah.
They come and go, but the team we have right now, we genuinely care for them. And every day we go in there and we get to be with them regardless of what's going on. We genuinely care about them. So when we come in on Monday, oh yeah. So we bring in, bagels, donuts. We're just having breakfast with our friends, you know what I mean, and our family, but we're training together and we're patting each other on the back, all of our team. We say good things about them. They're patting us on our back. Thanks, boss, for this. It's good when you have a relationship like that, but it takes time because I think a lot of people have been burned before, and it just takes a second to kind of get that trust. It's crazy. We were talking earlier that you heard of Zappos. They actually give a $2,000 bonus when you start there. They give you a $2,000 bonus if you leave. Anytime you leave, you get a $2,000 bonus for leaving, and that's just to weed out kind of people that shouldn't be there because they're like, oh, I'm just going to leave, get my $2,000 and be gone. And that's kind of their way of weeding out kind of people that shouldn't be there. And it took a second, but I was like, that is really interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it. But it's crazy
Yeah,
how
don't go offering people $2,000 to leave.
no.
It's
I
just,
don't.
I think it works really
It's too
well
soon for our industry. I don't think.
Where do I sign up?
Give me $2,000 to leave this podcast.
Yeah, definitely not recommending that, but
Yeah.
that works good for a big corporation for sure. And I think the idea of what you're trying to say is,
Yeah, no, but I think it's just crazy that there's companies that take that so serious. Like, it's so important to have the right people working for them that they're willing to put something like that in place. I mean, $2,000 to leave, like, it just sounds crazy. But, you know, the people that want to be there, they're like, no, like, I love this place. I love the atmosphere. I want to move up within the company. Like, that means a lot more than a measly $2,000. You know what I mean? And I think that message in itself is really cool.
I have a friend of mine that works at a big company, and he said that the hourly is average to what they get paid. He said, but the break room is stocked full with food, beverages, you name it. He said it's unlimited. You can go if you're running late. You can have a quick breakfast. There's bagels. There's all kinds of stuff. And he said that to me is worth more than an hourly.
Yeah.
Sure.
It shows they really care.
Oh,
For
definitely.
sure.
I know you guys do that, and that's what's cool. You know, the refrigerator's got stuff in it, and you're bringing in food. So what time's the training again?
Yeah, right. Monday at 6:30. Yeah, but I mean, it's, you know, a lot of you'll see it all over the place, but it's so true. I mean, we could, you know, roll up on one of our guys cleaning a pool and give them, you know, $20, and you'd be like, oh, that's very nice of you. But you could also roll up and give them a bottle of Gatorade and you know, some donuts or something from Taco Bell or McDonald's or something, and he'd probably be so much more stoked. He's like, oh man, you took the time to go through the drive-thru and get me this drink, and you came over here and you're talking to me. Like, I feel like that goes, there's some things that are more important, I think, than money. I think you have a safe place to work, and you have a good relationship with the owners and the managers, and you keep a well-organized business. I think that's something that a lot of people should really focus on, is keep things organized, keep it safe, make sure that, you know, there's, you know, just a good flow going on, good vibes going on throughout the whole place. That's where people want to work. You know what I mean? Because I'll take that all day over, you know, a few dollars, making a few dollars more, and just every morning like, gosh, I got to freaking drag myself to this job. You know what I mean? Everybody's grumpy, everybody's this, everybody's that. Much rather be in a more positive atmosphere, for sure.
for sure. You know, I think when I was working there with you, you know, we had just restarted your pool service side, because I was doing pool service. You had me running a little route for you at the time. And, you know, we started talking about building that up for you a little bit. And then I got pretty busy pretty quick. So that kind of changed a little bit of that. Kind of talk to us about how, you know, you own the store and then you also do the pool service side, and some of the challenges, some of the, you know, successes you've had with that and failures and things like that.
Some of the successes are we've been able to grow it because I've been out in the field a little bit. It is quite a balance issue, quite honestly. You know, I'm thankful that the sun is up at 5 a.m. in the summer.
Yeah.
So I can do enough to where just go into the store and then take it from there. But it's balance. It's been challenging, to say the least. So,
yeah, but that 5 a.m. start for you, I mean, that's when you talk about the 14-hour days, 15-hour days that, you know, as the owner, you have to put in the beginning and to grow it. It's
you do.
tough.
And it's after 5 o'clock, it doesn't end there.
Right.
You know, it's 6, 7 o'clock, and then you're on your way home. You're returning emails on the road, which you should never do anyway.
Right. We all
But
do
you know,
that.
you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
You know? So it has been a challenge in balance, trying to find a great team, which we already currently have, but to expand that great team is key.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to do that, honestly, we're even as we speak, to do that. And then that allows me actually even a little more time in the field to do some things that I'd like to do
Sure.
to build the company. But balance is a key factor.
I bet
in
that's
how
tough, because
that
I know
looks.
you're out there cleaning pools most mornings and then coming into the store and trying to run that. Like you said, you have a great team that can hold it for a few hours, you know, or even a whole day if you need them to. But, you know, that's definitely a key.
Yeah, it's all in the balance.
Yeah, and that's where you really figure out, you got to make sure that you're taking the right type of work and you're taking on the right accounts and things like that, because time is money. You know, you're spending all your time, you're spending an hour and a half at a pool because somebody's not wanting to like put a cleaner in or, you know, do something like that. That's where you start to be like, okay, some of this stuff isn't making sense anymore. Like, I need to start taking on the right accounts. So I feel like that was huge for us because we did that for so long where it's like, hey, when people call in, we have to do bids. Like, not only did we know that, but it made much more sense to look at the equipment, look at the pool, turn everything on, make sure that it ran correctly, and being transparent with the customer where it's like, hey, this is our process. These are the documents we need signed. We suggest that, you drain your pool every 4 to 5 years. We do this phosphate treatment, every April. There's all these things. We do a filter clean. If you have a DE filter or a cartridge filter, we do that every, 6 months. And it's like, you put all that out there. It's on our service agreement. We have this, automatic pay authorization form. We get billed on the first. Like, there's all these things that we do. And that's why we had to go through so much. We had to go through so much crap to figure that out the hard way. Because it's funny how you hear about these things like, oh, Ed does this that way. No, he's crazy. I don't know why he does it that way. But then like a year later, like, dude's a genius. I don't know why the heck I wasted my time doing it this other way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I think a lot of people kind of have to learn the hard way sometimes. I know we do a little bit, but hey, I only need to learn once though. I'll fall on my face once and I'm like, okay, we need to change some stuff. You know what I mean?
So. To answer part of that question too, Tyler, was is this what I'm doing now going to benefit the future, right? So these things go through my mind while I'm out there at 5, 6, 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Is this particular pool enough to where it's going to take care of? And those are the choices we have to make in order to go, wait a minute, is this hour and a half I'm spending now going to benefit me for the rest of the day or the month? Is this going to help?
Yeah.
Yes or no? And those are the things that I think we're still kind of challenged with, as we all are,
I think there's 2 separate ways to completely look at that situation. So from an owner's perspective, if you're listening, like, that's what you have to do to make a successful business. Working those 14-hour long days and, putting in those hours, doing what you have to do on top of balancing your family, which we all do. And a lot of you, I'm sure, do, trying to be there for the dinners and putting them to bed, and then, working at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, doing billing, doing other things. Like, it doesn't stop. So if you're trying to do something successful as a business owner, like, that's what you have to do. From the service side, if you're listening and you're not an owner, you need to look at the owners a little bit more like that. You know what I mean? Because just because you see them come in and sit at a desk doesn't mean that's what they do. Like, if I looked at you and you were in the store working and I came in as a customer, I would think you worked at the store. But that doesn't mean that I know the whole story. And, if you're coming in and you're working for a company, like we said, we try to provide the best atmosphere. But if you're not an owner, like, that's what you got to pay attention to. Those things that we do, it's not, we don't just come and sit at a desk. It's, you got to see that grind and that hustle and that stuff they don't see. And so we're
taking on
tough.
all the risks too.
Yeah.
You can very well break something or do something. It's like the company is liable. I am the company. Me and Tyler are the company. Ed is the company.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you get to break something or do whatever you do. Let us know and go home. Boom. Back to watching Netflix and chilling.
Right.
And we're the ones that have to have the awkward conversation and really figure things out. And there's been times where we had to, kind of eat something. You know what I mean? We had to pay for that. But, we do what we have to. And, nobody's perfect. We've all broken stuff and did different things like that. But that's, as an owner, you take all the risks. And sometimes you have to stay at, but I think it's that initial investment, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that work all hours of the night now. I did last night and the night before.
Right.
And we kind of pick and choose, but it's really cool that, there's those years where, you just kind of grind it out and put in the extra work and hours and things like that. But it's that initial investment, because it's like, man, I'm really trying to build this up so that at some point I can get off at, 5 and 6 o'clock and, have dinner with my family. And, in the middle of the day, if I schedule my time right, I can go to my daughter's, Valentine's Day gig, you know what I mean? And it's so cool to be able to do that stuff. But it's still, you do that, but you might have a later day. But it's really cool putting in that, that time initially.
I think it goes back to our wives and things too, because when we're able to go to, ball games or Valentine's Day plays or school events in the middle of the day, that's a benefit of, plus of owning the business. But they have to understand the same thing. Well, if I'm coming here for 2 hours in the middle of the day, I'm going to be working 2 hours later. And, you have to have somebody who supports you all the way to do that. Otherwise, it's very difficult because they would be getting super upset. But that's a balancing conversation, back to communication between all of us that we have with our wives, good communication, letting them know. But you got to understand, like, that's what you give or take, and they understand pretty well, and I think that's pretty cool.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, 100% across the board communication. with your guys, customers, networking with new people, the distribution center, everybody through email, your customers, every single thing you do is all about communication. If you figure that out and get that dialed in, life will be so much easier because everybody's on the same page.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing once you get that all dialed in and figured out. I mean, nothing's ever perfect and things come up, but when you make that kind of a regular thing, and that's a part of what you do is just communicate. And as things come in, you take care of it. And when your guys have an issue, you just take care of it. Like they trust you. You know what I mean? It's crazy how important that is.
Yeah, definitely back to the balance you talked about. There's a balance between work and life, and there's a balance between, owning the store and trying to do a route. I'm sure it's a pretty big challenge sometimes.
Yeah, it happens, but with the team that we have, I'm very thankful. And so you always want to try to improve those processes,
Sometimes it can be tough if you hire people, later on that aren't there with you. Like, Kenny's been in the trenches with you. He's seen you hustle, grind, do crazy hours, but when you hire a new person, they didn't see any of that. That's sometimes difficult too, because some of the people that, bled with you and sweat with you and did those things with you, they'll back you 100%. It's getting those new guys to understand, like, hey, I did this game. I played this game. I've got what I have now because I did that. Now, you're just getting the easy stuff, the cream of the crop. We're giving you the pools and giving you the stuff, and you work, and we appreciate all that work, But, like, it's sometimes hard to get that respect from those guys, a little bit harder than the ones that have, been in the trenches with you.
It's hard to explain that stuff sometimes, too, a little bit. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, you can't say, one time I worked super hard and now I don't, because that's obviously not true. But
man, back when I was cleaning pools, man, I had to walk here. It was snow everywhere. No, there wasn't.
It's just a whole different game when you become bigger and, when you try to balance a store and the routes. I mean, it's a whole nother, we're just working. We're still working just as hard, just doing different things.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Tip my hat to you. That's a lot. Having a brick and mortar store and on top of the service and repair side, that's a lot, but it's still pretty genius because you have all those customers and even different companies, maybe smaller companies that don't do so many repairs that they just kind of keep coming in. And it's really cool because you have that face-to-face interaction where you could be like, hey, do you guys do repairs? Like, yeah, we do. And you can get some of that. Or customer comes in and like, hey, my motor's making a crazy noise or my vacuum's not working. So it's cool that you have that face-to-face interaction because we don't have that. I mean, all our presence is all on the internet. It's all online through Yelp and Google and, all these different things where it's
we do the initial bids, meet them, but that's about it.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not coming to us for anything. Yep. We've had people roll up on our shop, but it's usually a customer to pay their
bill.
Pay a bill. Yeah, that was a weird one, but yeah, that's about it. But yeah, I think very cool that you balance all that stuff.
We try hard. It is fun when customers come in. You can be the hero.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's cool to help supplement your income too as the owner of a store because you don't always have a big profit, as a storefront, and other stores that sell products like I don't know plants or different flower shops or different kind of stores like that. They don't have the opportunity to go service pools or have another avenue like that. It's cool to be in this industry where you have the store and you make money from the store, but I think it's cool you saw the opportunity to say, hey, there's a whole nother side of it. If we can grow this, like that's gonna keep make the store run better and keep us, as far as the owners, keep us, with food on our table. And, at the same time, providing a great place for other people to do that as well.
Yeah, it's always fun to look at a different avenue. We do a little bit of commercial now, too. Not a lot, but just enough. And so to have kind of their hands in that kind of category. The other thing, too, is we have a service that we provide now where we deliver product. So it's really kind of encouraging guys to do that, too, because what's really cool about that aspect of it is there's no labor. Yep. So it's just materials only. Mm-hmm. So those are some neat avenues as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So tell us, Ed, what is your craziest customer story? Love to hear something.
I was trying to think of one the other day, so I'll have to go back to one that I thought was quite fun when Tyler was working with us. I came back to the store and I had a little situation in a pool that I was servicing, and I had met this particular dog one other time before, not thinking anything. Yep. And so this time, as I turned my back to him, he decided that he wanted to enjoy part of my leg on the back side.
The turkey leg.
The turkey leg. Yeah. And so I decided to realize that I needed to probably get away, and I couldn't get away because he kind of was in a pocket where the equipment was, and there was kind of a pony wall there. So he had kind of found his spot. But I guess after he took a bite, he didn't like what he tasted. So he moved.
Or you kicked him hard enough.
He moved on, and I thought, man, if I ever had to outrun this dog, and then I turn around and look, and he had 3 legs.
Oh, man.
So the funny part, though, was when I went back to the store and decided to tell the team, and Tyler was there, and I think he laughed the hardest of anyone, realizing, and then he says, "You mean you couldn't even outrun a 3-legged dog?"
Oh, dude, that's so
I remember I actually talked to Megan about it after we talked about it previously, and I was like, I think the way it happened was you didn't say that the dog had 3 legs. What happened was you said I went to service this guy's house, and
That's right.
and then I put the 2 and 2 together. I said, whoa, wait, you couldn't outrun the 3-legged dog?
Because you had serviced it
Because I had serviced it before, so I knew the dog had 3 legs. I think you left that part of the story out, and
you don't even care that I need stitches?
and I called you out on that, like, oh, whoa, 3 legs? Come on, Ed.
Yeah, that was a fun day.
That guy was pretty fast, though. That dog was pretty fast.
He's pretty quick.
And there was a big yard. There's a lot of yard to get out of there.
Thank you for understanding.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I like that story.
That's super funny.
So being in that store, I mean, I know, like, when I first started, you had this green to clean process paper. And, it had, I think you probably still have it, but, it had what you give to your customers if they had a green pool. Like, so what do you think, it might take you a second, but what do you think the craziest, like, green pool story you can think of is?
I had one where the customer came in and they didn't know why it turned green. And
that's fun.
And so they said it was perfectly clear. About 48 hours later, it was completely green. I said, well, there's a difference. Is it lime green? Is it swamp green? What level of green, right? And so our sheet that we hand out gives a formula for any kind of green. And so that's really encouraging. So we gave that to her, and she literally applied it all, and it turned back around in 24 hours, which was really great. The kicker was, though, that she didn't remove the palm tree branches that the landscaper had clipped several days before, and they found their way into the pool.
Yep.
And so within 24, 48 hours...
All the phosphates.
Now, here's what's crazy. Ready? Palm tree branches are really nice and green when you trim them.
Yep.
But when you pull them out of a pool that's chlorine-based and it's blonde, you know where all that...
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All the
that
green
stuff
went.
dissolves right into the pool.
Yep.
And so she literally came back. She was extremely ecstatic. She told everyone. She went online, gave us a great review, was thankful, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, it was kind of fun.
Nice.
I had one other one that turned in 24 hours, back from... And actually, I put that on our Yelp.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Before
cool.
and after. And that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But it was a combination of chlorine and acid. And
Yeah.
all that good stuff,
What's a worse story? What's a worse one? Like one that you haven't... So I remember when Greg and I, we did this one, and it like had so much like slime thick on the bottom, and it was like the water wasn't green yet, but it was like so green, and we could not turn it. Like it took us like a week, and it never turned. We ended up draining it, and it was just like we wasted so much time and money on it because all we charged them was for a regular green to clean, because you can't go back after you tell them a price. So it's like a whole week, and
Seen some gnarly ones.
Yeah, I've seen. Well, we had that one. Yeah, that one was super nasty. I don't know. There's a couple of nasty ones.
I don't really have one that had sludge.
No,
No sledge.
Although I do have a beautiful picture of one where the pop-up head system shows a star, and the green is outlining.
Ooh.
The pop-up head comes up. It was so
That's
bad
pretty
we had
nice.
to acid wash.
Oh, yeah.
It was that bad. But yeah,
Jeez.
that was really cool to see those colors.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Dude, that one we're at right now, when we first got this pool, I mean, it was like black.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember there was a vacuum in the pool, and we're trying to kind of flip this pool and get it to a point where we could just see what kind of surface. We didn't even know what the surface of the pool was. It was so bad.
Yeah.
And there was a vacuum going into the dedicated section, and I'm like trying to pull it, and I get to a point, and I can't even pull the hose out, and I'm like, this is kind of freaky. I'm back here by myself. I'm like, I don't know when it's black, you don't even know what is holding this thing down. So finally I got it, but there was like huge vase in the pool. I mean,
with a cactus.
Once we got it, dude, we were backwashing this for like a week or two straight. I mean, it was just so gnarly. And then finally when it started to clear up, you could see that someone like maybe with a paint roller or something, like tried painting the side of the pool and stuff.
Yeah, it was like painted, so it's like white and blue speckled.
Oh, man.
But it was like this giant vase with a cactus attached to it that was holding the cleaner down, and we couldn't see it until, it took us over a week to get that pool clean.
It was so rough, so rough. But we just beat the snot out of the sand filter because they approved a new cartridge filter. So we just beat the snot out of this sand filter, and then finally, once it started getting somewhat cleared up, we just ripped that thing out and put a new cartridge filter. But man, there's probably all brand new water in there considering how many times we backwashed that, because it was just But it was that it was the middle of the summer. Like, what are you going to do, especially if you don't know what the surface is? We don't really drain any pools in the summertime. So but that one we've had some gnarly ones, but that one was crazy.
I'm glad you took the referral then.
Probably.
Nice.
Yeah, probably.
So we don't do these ones. Call brothers.
Big Ed told me to call you.
That's right. Big Papa.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Dude, that's super funny.
So tell us, Ed, what is your favorite social media platform? I'm curious.
I really enjoy Google.
Yeah?
I like the way that it simplifies the way a customer can go on and give a review. I like the idea that to me, in our particular situation, it's a little bit more expansive than some of the other options.
Yeah.
We do have, though, Yelp Pay. We're on Yelp and Google. We do some Facebook. We're not really tweeting or anything like that right now because of our clientele base.
Because it's a waste of time. Yeah, I know.
Clientele base.
Sorry,
Well,
Twitter.
Twitter's kind of moved into more of a news platform, anyways.
I mean, I think you might get something from it if you post every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe you might get a hit from it. A little bite here and there.
We have tried a little Instagram, and we've gotten a little bit of feedback there.
Yeah.
But our clientele base and what we're doing, they've not really even utilized Facebook in trying to. We've actually used that with things like Hayward Days and special promotions and things like that, and we've had a nice response from the community, just not so much of our customers.
Do you know what? I think if you utilized Instagram, I just thought about this just to kind of go towards pool guys. I think you might have more success as far as that side of the store, because I think because we've seen, hundreds of people from Arizona Instagram accounts, here. It might be, if you focus the Instagram more on the motor side or like the pool, how you help pool guys, that might help with that side because they're going to be younger generation.
Let me ask you guys a question then.
Yeah.
How do you get the word out to the pool guys in your viewing? How would you get out the word to let them know that, hey, follow me on Instagram? Or
I think there's a lot of different ways to approach it. I think if you were just on Swim Pool Warehouse's Instagram, the best thing to do would be to try and find, so you can find through Yelp, Google, or just, pool service, Arizona, Phoenix, whatever. Do kind of your due diligence in finding out what companies are on Instagram. Find their profile, just kind of see what they're about, like some photos, comment on some stuff, maybe send them a direct message where it's kind of more of like a, hey, just want to reach out, say hi, my name is Ed with Swim Pool Warehouse. I really like your feed, yada, yada, yada. Reach out. And we love doing that because not only do we want people to know about brothers or pool chasers, but we just love the industry, and we want to give back. We want to contribute. We know a few things, so we're going to share that with them. But in return, we know that there's a lot of people that know more than we do, and we would like to learn from them. Just like you, Ed. There's a lot of things that we can learn from you, and we have learned from you. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything that we can give back to you, that's what we want to do. It's like paying it forward. So as far as that, that's the best way to do it kind of organically, is to just kind of, find out, there's an insane amount of pool companies here in Arizona that are on Instagram, but that's the best way to reach out. And the stories, I think, are really cool. I think that's something to capitalize on, is the Instagram stories, and which is easy. You just kind of film kind of whatever's going on right now, and people can kind of see it more instantly. Because if you post a picture, it's kind of, it doesn't go in order of post. So say if I post something right now, not all of our followers are going to see it right away. But there's so many things going on with what you do, because you're working on motors and cleaners, and you're servicing pools, and you're doing repairs. There's so much that you can give to the feed. It's just, kind of our issue is there's a lot of things going on at Brothers, but we're not physically there at every single one of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to kind of figure out. It's kind of best to have a plan of attack, but sometimes you just kind of got to wing it. So back to Google, do you share like a link with people, or do you have it in your signature? Or you just say, hey, you know, check us out, you know, leave us some feedback on Google. You say something like that.
Yeah, we just ask for a little bit of feedback if they got some time to do it. Well, we honestly don't have anything. For a while there, we were actually giving a handout to each customer saying if you follow us on this or if you like
Like
your
a flyer.
service. Yeah, that kind of a thing, because people enjoy sometimes something tangible to take home.
Oh, for sure.
They might not remember it between point A and B. But we tried that, but we've actually found more success in just saying if they've had a good experience, hey, would you mind? We'd appreciate some good comments, you know, that kind of thing. And we've had some pretty nice reviews.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you plan on doing anything more with maybe social media and stuff like that? Or you think you're just kind of, you like the way it's going? Because even from what I saw, the website and Instagram and Facebook and all the stuff that you do, you know, it's good. You know what I mean? You could probably do it like a little bit more, but I also know it's really hard, especially as an owner, and it's just you. It's not like you have another person. You know, me and Tyler are very, you know, blessed that, you know, we have different, you know, things that we contribute to the company, or he can do one thing and I can do another, which you don't really have that. So we know that for some people, it's really difficult when you're kind of a one-man show as far as like management and owning the company.
Yeah, we try to do our best, though, a little bit better on some of those avenues. I just want to make sure we're reaching out to the right people that would enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, so it really does. So the work that the time and energy we put into it, it's being received by somebody, you know, and they get a benefit from it. And that's, I think, the key.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we were just talking about this recently where I think a lot of people are like, you know, I don't know where, you know, I don't really get too much from Yelp, or I don't get too much from Instagram or Facebook and this and that. I think it's really about brand awareness as well. And this goes back to when you're trying to hire on new employees, or just getting new people, because there's so many guys that came to work for us because they're like, wow, I saw your guys' website. I saw what people had to say about you. I saw your Instagram. I saw this, I saw that. And it just looked like a really cool place to work at. And it's when that happens and you find like a gem through that, you're like, okay, I get it. Like, I might not have gotten 1 million customers from having such, you know, a cool website and this and that, but like I attracted some really good pool technicians and some really good pool repair guys. And we've actually built some really good relationships. Mm-hmm. I know some of the best relationships we've built with other pool builders and service and repairs and manufacturing companies and things like that. I think they saw our different approach to the pool industry and how, you know, we're taking different photos and we actually edit photos and we do this and we actually reach out to people and we just kind of have a different eye for things. I think that they see that and they're like, wow, that's really cool that, you know, there's kind of like this new breath of fresh air coming in and kind of, you know, putting this facelift on an industry. Not that it's dying, but the industry is fun and sexy and cool, and there's so many things that you can do with it that capitalize on that, you know, not just for customers, but if you're trying to bring on new talent, you know, have that brand awareness out there that people can look at your company and be like, dude, this place is rad. Heck yeah, I want to work here. Swimming pool warehouses, they have like a crystal ball hanging. You know, they do disco at 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? But it's just brand awareness, and I think it's really cool. I think people just get kind of fixated on just doing it because it's like, what's my ROI? It's just bringing in the customers. Like, no, it's not just that. It's cool if it happens that way and you get a good job, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I think owning a brick and mortar store too, Google and Facebook are probably your best avenues to go because people are going to be searching for products through Google. You know, you're going to pop up in Scottsdale as, you know, that number one pool store there. And, you know, on Facebook, your customer base, you know, probably operates more on Facebook than any other platform. So, you know, that's definitely avenues, you know, you can run ads on there, do different things, you know, to attract that generation and those people that are searching for those things. That's different, I think, between the storefront and the pool service side.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just letting people know on Facebook, especially that we are here in Scottsdale at, you know, Redfield and Hayden, letting them know they might not need anything, but if you're putting Facebook ads, maybe put $100 behind a Facebook ad where it's your video of what we do and how we do it. It's like, yeah, I don't need anything right now, but that's cool that they're, you know, 1.3 miles away from my house. You know what I mean? Because you can really target market those demographics. So that's super important.
It's a cool place to send customers too. I mean, if we don't service the pools, we just go do one-off jobs. To tell them that they can go to your store is pretty cool because it's a different experience. Other than the big corporations, you got that more homey feel and that one-on-one customer relationship, and be able to tell them, hey, we'll take care of you. You'll go the extra mile where a lot of the other corporation stores won't do that.
True. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the coolest things for a lot of us is our mentors. It's gotten us through a lot of stuff. Just being mentored by different pool companies, by you, by our parents, by different things. We'll get more into our mentors, I'm sure, throughout these podcasts. But why don't you kind of just share maybe, who in your life was a mentor and tremendous, impact on you, and, who pushed you to get to where you are?
I would have to say that my father was probably the biggest impact in my life overall. I know my bride, Susie, number one in my life, as she has been a support through and through. Not only in the business, but just in life, that kind of thing. So with my father's position and how he dealt with business and banking, and toward the end of his business career, stuff, he did home building, and then he moved into a pastoral role.
Right.
He's been the biggest influence I've actually seen firsthand, how he deals with people, and taught me a lot how to deal with people and how to be relatable. Anywhere from the billionaire all the way to the homeless. And there's stories about both of those people in two different worlds.
I think being able to impact both worlds at the same time, using different approaches, and not only, one approach doesn't work for one, but, you got to switch it up and be approachable to both different worlds.
Yeah, and it was critical. And so it's been a big impact. And I've learned a lot, and in the business side as well, because he had his own business as well, and learned a lot of that. But I think more important than anything, how to be teachable, to always be learning, to be relatable, compassionate, as well as passionate about what you're doing and who you're dealing with, those types of things.
For sure.
But, those are...
Yeah, I've met your dad, and I went to his church, and, you were on the staff there, and I think, you never felt like anybody was uninvited. It was always, and we had a different level playing field up in North Scottsdale than a lot of churches do. It's, at the time, it was one of the most unchurched cities in America, and I remember that being some of the hardest parts of, trying to move up to North Scottsdale, because when you have everything you think you need in life because you have so much money, people think they don't need church or don't need God or different things. But I remember, he took everybody in, and he always loved on everybody, no matter what. You could be super rich, super poor, have a family, be single. There's never nobody that was turned away. And I think that you could tell from his character and you, by raising you and things, that he's a really good man.
Yeah, I've been very blessed with him and my mother as well. And, it's interesting because you kind of, when you get a little bit older, you kind of play the rewind a little, and you kind of go back and you kind of see who in your life has been very impactful. And I'd say from the business standpoint, from the pool industry, a gentleman by the name of Ron, I think you know him very well.
Know that guy.
And he was very instrumental at a certain time when I wanted to hear a voice that didn't know who I was, who Ed was.
Sure.
That it could speak some things into me that I'm like, oh, man, this guy's reading my mail. I don't even know him. And so those things, as far as impact, as far as involvement and his instruction, through encouragement and challenge, he had a great balance. And to see him firsthand love his family like he does, those were great influences. And it was a big impact at that moment when we were looking to make an extremely large leap.
Yeah,
and he was there.
I never thought of it that way, where he didn't know you. Yeah, like you just pointed that out, because I knew you, but he came, later on after we had our first son, and he didn't know you on that same level that I do. So he just kind of looked at you probably as somebody just asking for advice, and didn't know the background or the history, which I think is kind of a cool perspective on that.
Yeah. I reached out to him just asking his perspective on how he saw things and how he looked at a business. Because I know if he raised someone like you, he had to have some incredible skill set.
Thank you.
And so I am very, very appreciative to him. And he was also very encouraging to make sure that Susie was on board as well. Because if she wasn't, this wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so eternally grateful, for that impact and that instruction that he gave.
Yeah, I mean, he's told us a couple times, when we've talked about different business ventures and things that, you should always just try to break something and see if you can break it, break a system, break the way they do things, see if you can break it. And if you can't, then it probably is something, worth looking into, worth moving forward on. And that's kind of cool how we looked at this industry, well, where's the point that we can't be successful? And being in Arizona and with our work mentality and your work mentality, this is a perfect place to do it. That's kind of how we looked at that. And I know, Greg, we growing up, you used to say one phrase to us all the time, which is what?
Make good choices every single day.
Yep.
Didn't really get it right away, kind of moving in there in high school. And it was just like, man, why every single day is just make good choices, But as time went on, you know what I mean? He just really pounded that into my head. And I know he did with the rest of the boys, but made it very clear that when you make good choices, you got good consequences. You make bad choices, you got some bad consequences. And yeah, it's kind of cliche, but it's just so true. And there's not one day that goes by where I'm faced to make one of those two decisions, and I can go left and make the wrong decision, or I can go right and make the right decision. And consequences, they're there. You know what I mean? So I thank God every day for him. But it's crazy, all those, different influencers to make you who you are. Because I know us, we look up to you, Ed. We think you run a good business, and you've just been a really good friend, since we've known you. So
you guys make it easy.
Yeah, we really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. It's cool to hear your story, and we really appreciate you coming in and taking the time to spend with us. You were a big impact on our life, a big impact on our business. You gave us that handout when other companies probably wouldn't. Our personal relationship probably had a little bit to do with that. But, I think that's part of your heart and your character and the way you are anyways. And I think if I would have come to you not knowing you previously, I think you probably still would have done the same thing. Maybe not to the extent because, you knew me a little bit better. But, I think your heart is pure, and you did that just because you care about people and you care about the industry. And I think that's, we really appreciate, everything you've done for us and being, from the very beginning.
Thank you. It's kind of fun to live through your success. Gotta see you guys do well is an honor. So
yeah, so
I'm excited for your future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So let's kind of just plug your store real quick. Give you the opportunity to do that because we're in Arizona, and we have a lot of listeners in Arizona, and that's our home playing field. So you're here with us. So kind of just tell us where you're at, what you guys offer, to the pool industry, and what you got going on there.
Well, we are legal name is the Swimming Pool Warehouse. We are basically on Hayden and Redfield in the Scottsdale Air Park area. We're open from Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then a little bit on Saturday at 8:30 to 12:30. So if those guys that work project weekends stuff, we are able to help them out with parts and that kind of thing. So we have a motor shop that we do restoration of motors, pumps, as well as cleaners. We do cleaners as well. A full array of supplies and parts and chemicals and all of that kind of stuff. If we can't find it at our place, we'll find it somewhere for you.
For sure.
Nice. And is there a phone number that anybody can reach you on?
Yeah, we have a local number of 480-483-6100. And our website's www.swimpoolwarehouse.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ed.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, please email us at poolchasers.info@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our tag is Pool Chasers. Your feedback is very important to us, so please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It would be much appreciated for us to see how you all like the podcast. Thank you very much, and tune in next time.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.